Welcome to Let's Grow Texas Ag, showcasing unique farm and ranch stories of the South Texas coastal plains. First-hand knowledge with special guests presented by our very own and well-known host, Joe Adams. Pull up a chair and enjoy as we share some of the heritage and insightful stories that have made us proud Texans. Let's Grow Texas Ag, sponsored by Shop Us John Deere.
Hi folks, and welcome to this edition of Let's Grow Texas Ag. This morning finds us off of County Road 240 over here in Jackson County with Mr. Rodney Tegler, Mr. Jimmy Gurnt, Mr. Carl Rickaway, all members of the Jackson County Cattle Raisers Association. We got an interesting show today. Each one of them got a really cool story. We're in a very historical part of Jackson County. We're right here right off the banks of Lake Texana. And I tell you one thing, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have some good conversation. So, how in the world are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
What exactly do you guys do?
Well, we try to promote the beef in the county and in the surrounding counties. We do youth programs at school where we talk about how cattle are raised and how they're processed and how they're used in the school lunches and everything, how we help feed everybody. So we just try to promote the beef in our county here.
Yeah, try to promote the beef and kind of let the young people know exactly where it all comes from.
Right.
And interesting enough, and I think this is very worth talking about. Mr. Carl, you worked over there at the Beef Processing Center here in Jackson County?
Yeah, the meat center in Edna.
In Edna?
Yeah, the meat center. I worked there for 13 years.
13 years, what'd you do?
Did a little everything. Skin them, processed them. We did all of it. Back then, in the days, we could go out and shoot a calf and bring him in, skin him. That way they're not stirred up or anything. And then later on, as the inspection come along, well, then you couldn't go out and shoot them or do anything. You have to walk in. And to me, that was really bad because a lot of people even had Jersey cows. They would call me in the morning and tell me I'm gonna kill my calf here at the house and I'm gonna bring them over there and y'all skin them, and then we did. That way they didn't get stirred up or anything. The meat would be good.
And you worked over 13 years?
13 years, yes.
That's a pretty good time. Mr. Jimmy Gurnt over here, I think you were a meat inspector over there at the same center.
Yes, it was after he wasn't there. I was an inspector there for probably around 10 years.
You know, and one of the things that a lot of folks go into HEB or whatever their food store is, and they go in there and they give them hamburger meat or get them a steak, get them a ribeye, tenderloin, whatever they want to get, and they just pick it up, pay for it, and they're gone. They don't actually have an insight of exactly where all of that product comes from. And one of the good things about our part of the world is that the meat industry, like a lot of ag industries, are governed by a lot of inspections.
Right.
And that's for the safety of the public.
Of the consumer.
Okay. What would you do on a daily basis?
Oh, well, there's two parts to meat inspection. You have slaughter inspection and processing inspection. And I worked more in slaughter, where I had to check all the animals for any abnormalities alive before they were butchered, and then did actual necropsies, checking the glands and all the parts, the liver, the heart, lungs, all the glands in the head, to check to make sure there's no disease in them.
Mr. Carl, when you left the meat center over there, you went to work for J-Bar Ranch?
J-Bar Ranch.
And what?
About 68.
1968. How long have you been a member of the Cattle Association?
A little over 60 years.
Long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
He's senior member.
You're a senior member.
Yeah.
You can pull rank on them anytime you want to.
I got on the Jackson County Cattle Raisers Association when Mr. Bonneau, Joe Bonneau, was the president of it, and they started the brucellosis program.
Yeah.
Back then, and by me working at the meat center and everything, I met a lot of ranchers, and they wanted me to get them to sign up to have their cattle brucellosis. At that time, it was just you sign up and get them into. It wasn't a mandatory deal. And so they got me on the Cattle Raisers Association, and I've been on it ever since.
That's such a cool deal. And you remember screw worms.
Oh yeah, screw
And,
worms.
you know, all of
Yeah.
us remember screw worms. And
Yeah.
but you know, that is one program. Because you used to go out there and they drop them in
Fly
sterile
boxes.
fly boxes. You could always find them out in the pasture.
Right.
But they eliminated
They
screw
did.
worms.
It eliminated it.
That was one program that absolutely worked
It did.
in spades.
The last screw worms that I sent in the larvae from on the place where I live, I found 19 boxes in the pasture within 2 weeks.
Within 2 weeks. So they got after them.
Because that was towards the end of the infestation.
Of course, the screwworms came from flies that laid eggs, and then that's what would be on their navel or some of their other parts, and then those worms would just start eating on them while they were alive. It was terrible.
It was a very nasty deal. So
We lost a many calf,
lots of them.
lots of calves. That like I say, that program was the best program.
And
they
basically,
ever
what they ended up doing, they came out and they started dumping out sterile flies.
Right.
had. Right.
And they used to come through, and this was back, I guess, probably in the mid '60s.
Right.
Yeah.
50s and 70s
yeah,
too. Mhm.
Yeah, but to probably the early '70s maybe. But you could be riding around out of the pasture. They'd come around in little Piper Cub planes or little airplanes,
Right.
and they'd just dump these boxes. They were about that big, and you find them all over your pasture.
All over the pasture,
And
yep.
they were dumping out sterile flies, and then basically it was a great effort. And whoever came up with that. And whoever figured out how to cut a fly,
Yeah, that's
you know?
That's
I
right.
mean, it's kind of like, hey, somebody, but they figured it out, and that basically through a lot of effort from a lot of folks, they eradicated the screw worms in the beef cattle industry, and probably, it affected sheep and everything else. Interesting enough, one of the deals that we're going to be looking at today, and we're going to be riding around out there with Mr. Rodney. He's taken a very interesting way of rotational grazing, and I'm in this particular place that we're on right now is a little under 400 acres, right around 400 acres, and he runs about 150 cows. So you can do the math on that, and if you're just got cows turned out on a pasture somewhere, you don't even get close to that. So what made you decide, Mr. Rodney, that all of a sudden you're going to have a rotational system?
Well, of course, growing up, my dad did that. He had these little patches, and he would move them from patch to patch, and he could run more cows than most people did. And of course, being on the Cattle Raisers Committee and everything, I learned a lot of stuff. So when I acquired this place, I decided I was going to do the rotational grazing and started cutting it up in different size cells. And I could run more head per acre that way. And not very many people can run 1 cow per 3 acres on just running it like it is.
It don't happen very many places.
And I've got the place cut up in 25 and 30 acre cells, and I can move the cattle from cell to cell where they have water. And then one good thing, when I'm ready to work my cows, they may be way far away from the pens. By the time it's ready to work them, I've got them in an 8 acre trap, because I slowly work them to the pens. And as Carl knows, I'm the only one that puts them in the pens over here. Nobody comes on the place till they're all in the trap, and then we work them. But the rotational grazing has allowed me to rest pastures for as much as 60 days, sometimes 45 days. Since we're in this drought that we're in right now, you'll see when we go out, I still have a lot of grass, but I've been moving the cattle quite a bit. They don't stay in a patch but maybe a week now, and then I move them to another patch, and I still have grass, but we need a rain.
We're gonna walk out there and we're gonna see some things here in just a little bit. But what really interested me on this deal, in talking to Mr. Rodney early, there's a statistic that I have seen that says there's 800,000 cattle ranches in our country, in the United States of America. 97% of them are single family owned. So that is a huge number. It's very impressive. So there's a lot of people involved in this deal. So that's a very cool deal, and a lot of generational stuff. Just like all of you guys, we're all generational to something.
Right.
So it's kind of once it gets in your blood, you just keep it going.
That's right.
Because you don't know anything else to do.
It's not a job, it's a way of life.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. As our senior member of the Jackson County Cattle Raiser says, it is a way of life.
It's
Isn't
a
it?
way of life.
You've been in it forever.
Oh, forever.
Hey, before we get out there and go look through the pastures, let's go over there. I want to see that. I want the viewers to see that your brand in there made out of them old bricks from the Sutherland plantation.
Okay. Yes,
Come
sir.
on.
Let's go look. Yeah, these are all old bricks that come from different houses. The first row of bricks are from my dad's house, from Rice Belt, from my house, and then the red bricks here from my grandfather and great-grandfather's chimney. But I decided to incorporate my brand into one of them. So I've got the old red bricks from my grandpa's chimney in there, and then I inlaid it, the white bricks here, to do the rocking R that were made at the Sutherland plantation gully back there, where they used to harvest their own clay and make their own bricks. They used to make a red brick, a white brick, and a tan brick. And these bricks actually came from the old Sutherland plantation house, and I went ahead and made my Rocking R brand into this layout of this patio here.
These bricks been here a long time. They ain't going nowhere.
Long time. Well, you can kind of see, here's one of the old red ones right over here, and it's a little bit rougher. And they got better at making brick as they went. But this is one of the red bricks there, and then there's some white ones over here that are also a little bit rougher, but those over there are more refined. So there were like 3 types of bricks that they had over there from that gully. And there was a deep gully back there with this clay in it. And they would make the bricks, and then they would heat them and cure them, and they used a lot of them in the construction of that Sutherland plantation house. Right, because that was a big 3-story house with a dome on the top, and it stood off the ground about 3 foot. So they made those brick tiers up, and then they started laying the big cypress beams on it to build that house.
That's very interesting stuff, and there's a whole lot more to see, and we'll be back with Let's Grow Texas Ag in just a second. This pasture right here, this would be one of your rotational pastures.
Right, 15 pastures.
So you got 15 pastures. So basically, you got right at 400 acres cut up into 15 different pastures, and you leave them in there so many days, and then you
move them.
Move
Everything gets at least a 45-day rest. This year it got a longer rest because of the grass we had. I mean, I would just let them eat the tops. I would put them in there, let them eat it, and then move them to the next pasture once it started getting dry.
Yeah, and we're coming up on one of the pastures here that you rotated your cows in. I think you worked cattle this last weekend or something?
3 weeks ago we worked cattle and sold all the calves, and then I've had them in this patch for about 2 weeks, and there's still a lot of grass in there right now that this group of cattle's in. And then in my other pasture where all the Brayford cattle are, there's just as much grass over there in those patches. It's funny, the cows are walking across my jigs. Of course, the jigs is more kind of burn up brown more right now, and they're coming into the Ganado and the Medio and the Angleton. We're fixing to get into a patch of Angleton here that...
And some of these blue stems are more native to this part of the country. You know, the blue stem grass has been around. That's what used to be on these old prairies.
Yes.
And so a lot of the hybrid improved grasses, they're great, but they take a lot more water than a lot of some of these pastures here.
The only thing about the Gardos and the Medios and the Angleton, they come in so late. You know, our Tiftons and our jigs come out a lot earlier, but you know, it may be 2 months later before the Gardo and the Medio and the Angleton start coming, but once they come, they're so strong, and then they'll last until you have a big frost to knock them back, but you still got all that dry matter you can feed.
You know, one of the things that we're very blessed with in our part of the world is these big old oak trees.
Oh, I know it.
And how many times have you ever heard somebody say or said it yourself, if that tree could only talk?
Yep. That's like at my house. I built my house in the middle of all these oak trees, and it's completely shaded, but I've had to start cutting some of those limbs because they're getting so big and old, they're coming down, so I'm having to trim them, but it keeps it cool.
Well, not only does it keep it cool, but it's just kind of like,
Lordy.
Man, oh man. But you know, one of the things when we came up over here earlier, the old Sutherland Cemetery, this is, you know, old cemeteries, they tell the story of Texas.
Right.
They tell the story of the way life was back then and what it all, and this one tombstone right here, this monument, William DePriest Sutherland, who died in the Battle of the Alamo. He was born August the 10th of 1818, and he died March the 6th of 1836. That's about as deep in Texas history as you can get.
That's right. That's right.
That is just amazing stuff.
Yeah, this cemetery's been here a long, long time, and there's, I don't know who all the people are, but it's all Sutherland people that are buried here. And then once a year, the heirs to the Sutherlands come here and they have a big gathering or a party or talk about the family. I think mainly it's just for them to all meet. But once a year, there will be 30, 40 vehicles parked over here, and all the family members are come back to the plantation here. Because it wasn't until the early 1900s, and I'm not sure exactly which year, that my family started buying some of the Sutherland property, because I had aunts and uncles that owned 4 different tracts over here, which I ended up with a couple of them. Then my great-grandfather was just across the road over there. So my great-grandfather had 3 daughters and 2 sons, and each of them had a parcel of land over here. And some of them sold their land, and I was fortunate enough to end up with 2 parts of it. So that's what I have. Yep.
Well, this is a very interesting deal, and we're right on the banks of Lake Texana. And I think Lake Texana is like 10,000 acres.
Yes.
Got like 125, 150 miles of shoreline.
Right.
Something like
shore.
that. Yeah. Started in 1968.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And got finished somewhere in the 70s.
Right.
And but what has Lake Texana meant to this part of the world?
Well, it's created a lot of income for the county, because we sell a lot of water out of the lake to Corpus Christi and to some of the other big plants that are in this area that need water. The line, I don't remember what year the underground line was put in, but Corpus Christi, the mayor of Corpus Christi many, many years ago had the sight to see to come and buy this water from Lake Texana, because they knew Corpus Christi was growing so fast that they wouldn't be able to supply them with water. So that has created a lot of income for us. And with Formosa being at Point Comfort in the Port Lavaca area, they buy a lot of water from the lake too, because they have to have water in making the plastic pellets that they do. So the lake does bring a lot to us. Now back when the lake was coming, we lost a lot of land, or my family lost a lot of land to the lake, and we were disappointed in that, but it created income for the county, because the areas that I grew up in are now in the water down there in the creeks and the rivers that used to run through this place.
Where you used to travel when you was a kid.
That's right. When I was a kid, we played in that river bottom, and I can still see the spots where our campsites were, because they were islands out there, and there's still dead trees out there in the lake. So I know exactly where we played as kids.
Well, I can tell you one thing, my friend. We've enjoyed very much visiting with you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll be back with more Let's Grow Texas Ag here in just a minute.
Did you know 95% of Jackson County's farms are family owned?
There's my donkey, Bluebell. We got her to chase the coyotes away. And she does help. I did have a calf get killed by dogs here about a month ago, because wasn't coyotes, because they didn't eat it. They just had claw marks all over it.
You know, we had one time, and those things, it's amazing the instincts that those things have.
Oh yeah.
Because they will, any kind of a predator around, they take up with them babies.
They do.
And it's really amazing. But this one that we had, it got to where he wouldn't hardly let the cows get around the calf.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we finally had to get him out of there, because he serviced 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
He did a great job, but then right there towards the end, he got to where when that cow had the calf, that calf belonged to him.
Wow. This one doesn't do this. She comes up to them when they're born and watches them, and any dogs come on the place or anything stray, she goes and chases them. But since I've had her, I haven't lost any calves to coyotes, and I've had her for I think 9 years now. But like I said, I lost one calf right up here on this hill to dogs a while back. But buzzards are a constant problem.
Now that's the first time I ever saw that.
What's that?
Did you make that?
Them feeders?
No, that eagle out of that tire.
The buzzard, I made them out of rubber belting, and I had them hanging in all these trees.
Around.
I got some more at the barn. I should have already taken this one down, because it's past calving already. You never heard of that?
No.
I put them out when I'm calving, because they look like a dead buzzard, and they're made out of rubber. They're made out of rubber belting. I just hang them in the trees or hang them in the fence, and I haven't taken this one down yet.
That's the first time I've ever seen
Really?
that.
I got that from TDA. because I went to them because I was losing so many calves. They said, well, you can make these, but there's a certain way you got to manage them, putting them out and using them. And they look like a dead buzzard. They say if you leave them out, the buzzards, they get used to them and they won't.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you got to take them down. And you only put them up during calving season. So I'll have one in this tree, the one where the blue feeder is, the next tree, and then I'll hang one in that, where I put that aluminum gate with that pipe overhead.
All right, folks, we're going to about ready to tie a knot at it out here at Mr. Rodney's place, but I hope everybody's enjoyed going through the pastures and seeing what a rotational grazing system can do. It is absolutely amazing that you can, to maximize beef production on a smaller acreage type deal, this kind of deal is the way to go. How about let's go into town and get some lunch?
Let's
get some
go.
lunch.
It's
Sounds
getting
good.
hot.
We'll be back with more Let's Grow Texas Ag in just a minute.
Let's Grow Texas Ag Sponsor Spotlight, featuring Shoppa's John Deere.
Hi folks, Joe Adams here. Our travels this morning take us all the way to the beautiful agricultural farming country of East Bernard, Texas. And our reason for coming up here today is to shine a spotlight on one of our main sponsors, Shoppa's Farm Supply. So it is a real pleasure to be down here at their yard in East Bernard. How are you, Senor?
Doing good, doing good. Glad you're out here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Will Shopper. We'll visit with him in a little bit.
Hi.
Miss Stephanie, how
Yes.
are you?
Great.
The president
Great.
of Shoppers. Give us a little bit of history about Shoppers.
Well, Shoppa started in 1982. Will's grandpa, Mr. Shoppa, Lloyd Shoppa, started it. He bought that first dealership in Bay City, Texas, and then he began expanding and buying other locations. And Mr. Shoppa was very big on building a team. We have lots of people who've been around for a very long time, and we're really proud of that. And that results in helping and serving the community and really caring and investing in what you're doing.
All right, hey, if y'all got the time, let's go inside and take a look. We want to see what's going on in there.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, wow. Y'all got a little bit of everything. I love that paint right there, them two old brown bulls in that snow.
It actually did snow here once.
And a big shop we do have.
That's where the work gets done.
That's it.
And these guys put in a lot of hours. They work really, really hard. They're great at what they do. So in addition to what you see in the shops, we have a whole fleet of trucks that are out on the road doing things mobily where they don't even have to bring it in.
They just go wherever they need to.
That's right. They're dispatched centrally to go the next fire. And I got to plug, while we're talking about this, we are always looking for that person who wants to make a career out of this. We invest in students to attend Navarro College in Corsicana, and they get a 2-year associate's degree and come out with John Deere certifications and come to work for us right away. It's a great career. It really is.
We upstairs, we do our own training here too. And so once they get out of school, they're not just thrown to the wolves. They get trained by our guys that really know the local area, how these farming practices work, the equipment that's being used, and really kind of dive into it to where it's not just book knowledge, but it's actually real world, knowledge that they're able to piggyback on. Yeah, and we're not just trying to sell equipment one time. We're trying to work with people over the life of however long they own that property. We're trying to build relationships more than just sell equipment and have one transaction. We're really there to dive in and be there for them throughout the time they're going to spend on that property.
This has been a Let's Grow Texas Ag Sponsor Spotlight. Maybe you know someone that should be highlighted on our program. Let us know. Submit your story ideas to crossroadstoday.com/ag.
Hi folks, we're here in downtown Ganado. And I want to tell you one thing, their old buddy, Primo. How are you, Primo?
I'm doing okay, you're doing okay.
Man, I'm doing absolutely wonderful. I had the opportunity to come in here and we stopped in here and ate lunch one day, and it is absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And I will tell you this, and I'm a connoisseur of hot sauce.
Yes,
And y'all have some of the best homemade hot sauce in this part of the world, as far as I can tell.
thank you, yeah.
So how long have you guys been in business?
This one, 10 years almost.
10 years.
Yes. But I had other restaurants for like almost 30 years,
How did you come up with the name Primo?
They gave it to me in Warden, because I opened my first store named Primo, they start calling me Primo.
Oh, yeah.
We got some stores in Warden, and El Campo is known as Primos,
Well, that's absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. I can tell you one thing, folks. You're not going to find this on I-59 up there. You're going to have to get off the beaten path, downtown Ganado, Come see old Primo up here at Stella's, because as the sign says right there, they're now serving barbacoa. Y'all come see us right down here at Stella's. You're going to enjoy it. It's a great meal.
Thank you. Same
Thank
here,
you, sir.
Thank you.
You've been watching Let's Grow Texas Ag, sponsored by Shoppa's John Deere. Visit our website for more information and program schedules.